Okay, so I was on Beatport the other day doing my brand new DJ chart, something I try and do every month. And it got me listening to some of my older tracks on there. Now I went right back to the start, and I suddenly realised it's been 10 years since I had my first release on Beatport, my first release as Dirty Secretz, and it was actually a remix on Spinning Records, a remix of Dennis Christopher's Set It Off. And it got me thinking, what have I learned in those 10 years? What tips, tricks, advice would I give to my younger self? So this video might be a bit different from the usual, but to celebrate those 10 years, I'm going to go over 10 bits of advice that I wish I could give to my younger self. And who knows, it might even help you too. The first and pretty much the most important tip is patience, and you need a lot of it if you're going to be a music producer. I wish I could have told myself that 10 years ago, because I was in such a hurry to get my music out there, to get it to people, to put it on labels, to get my sound out. And what I really should have been doing is probably spending more time working on it and trying to develop my own sound. So you need patience when it comes to knowing when a track is finished or not, when to send it off to record labels, waiting for the response from record labels, and also just patience in general for your career to take off and to get it where you want it to be. It's much harder today than it was 10 years ago, and you need so much more patience today because with social media, everybody looks like they're doing really well, and we're going to come on to that a bit later. But it's just one of those things that you just need to have. You need to know that it will come around. Your time will happen. You will get there with your production. You'll get there with your skills. You just need to put the time in. Don't be in a hurry to put out that first track or that second track or that 10th track. Keep working on your craft and become good at it. So my second tip is to not chase the pack. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, don't feel pressured to make the music to fit in today. Make the music that you love, because ultimately that is the most important thing. If you go over my back catalogue, you'll see how I went through a whole different load of styles at the start, and finally, like in the last probably 5 years, I've kind of matured that sound and become the Dirty Secretz sound that it is today. Now, that is something that's taken me a while to do, mainly because I was trying to make the music to fit in with whatever's playing at the moment. Now, I've got a much more kind of soulful side. That kind of comes out in my music. I can't help it. I put a lot of kind of more soulful elements into my tracks, even the tracks that are kind of more club ready. But back when I first started producing, I was trying to make these kind of big room kind of things. And yes, they kind of worked. Some of them kind of got signed to really good labels and I was really happy with that. But I'm not quite sure if that was quite my sound or if it was just me trying to fit in. The most important thing is that you make the music that you love. And then ultimately you're not wasting your time. That is the most important thing. Now, it might not be popular at the moment, but you need to have confidence in yourself. At some point, that will catch on. Your music will catch on. You'll find your niche, you'll find your audience. And when it does, you'll be ready. Now, my third tip is to do with music production gear. And over the years, I've bought so much hardware, software, plugins. And if you want to know the absolute brutal truth, I haven't used a lot of it. Most of the hardware I've sold after a few months. Most of the plugins are laying there and I haven't done anything with them. Now, the whole point of this tip is that you might not necessarily need that latest bit of kit. It's more of a want than a need. You see this shiny new piece of hardware or this brand new plugin and you think it's going to transform how you produce and just make you a better producer. But most of the time that is not the case. Now, don't get me wrong, it is nice to have gear. Some of this gear that I've got that I've had for years and it still works really well. The KRKs, for example, I could have moved on to better monitors, but I know them so well that they are now my go-to monitors. I've only had 2 sets of these in the whole time that I've been producing. So certain hardware, software, plugins can be a really good part of your setup and very useful, but do you really need that latest synth? Do you really? Now, this fourth tip is all about working with other people. And when you're in the studio, generally most of the time you're spending all that time on your own, spending hours upon hours working on the same music. That's not healthy from any perspective. So it's really good to kind of get in there and work with other people. When I first started, there were no YouTube or there was no internet really to kind of get ideas and find out what other people are doing. So the only way that I ever found out how to produce something different was to go and see another producer and work with them. That's something that I really wish I'd have done more of when I first started. So when you are first starting, have a look, see what other producers are in the same city as you, any friends of friends that you can hook up with and kind of share ideas. Whether it's about collaborating or just about talking and chatting through things, you'll learn so much from other people, other techniques, new sounds, new ways of doing things that can really help your sound. Now, you're not copying anybody, you're not kind of stealing from them and vice versa. You're kind of just sharing techniques, and it's a really important thing to do. Over the years, I've spent some time with some really great producers, and even just being in their presence for a few minutes, you suddenly realize that they have a certain way of doing something, and you realize that maybe it's actually a better way or a quicker way, or it produces a better result, and instantly in those few seconds your life is made so much better. So definitely work with others more, reach out, talk to other producers in your neighborhood, in your city, in your friend circle, get on social media, on Facebook, and put a post out there to see if there's anybody who is near you, another producer that wants to work together, whether it's a collaboration or if you just want to hang out in the studio and chat about plugins or whatever, if you've got nothing better to talk about. Now, while we're on the same subject, tip number 5, keep in touch with people. Now, this has had a massive effect on my career. When I first started producing, I had a mailing list, and on that mailing list was a DJ who used to DJ on the Pioneer DJ Sound show. Now, we've kept in contact over all these years. I've sent him my promos, we've kept in contact, and just about 3 years ago, he reached out to me to see if I wanted to be involved with the new DJS 1000, and that's how my performance came about. Now, that wouldn't have happened if I hadn't have kept in contact with him. So any contacts that you meet now, through friends, through producers, through labels, keep in contact with them, because you never know where they're going to be. If you're on a music production course, for example, or if you're just socializing or DJing alongside somebody, you never know. They might be running a club one day, or a record label, or they might have their own company and they can get you involved on that. It's really important to kind of keep those connections up. And of course, if somebody reaches out to you, then hopefully you can do exactly the same for them and help them out. So tip number 6 is ignore socials. Now, this does sound weird because we need social networks to promote our latest releases, our gigs, even just chat to people on a social level, but they can be evil. If you're going through your Twitter feed or your Facebook feed or your Instagram feed, you're going to see nothing but good posts. You're going to see producers talking about their latest releases, being signed to these major labels or doing well in the charts, or amazing gigs that they're having in foreign countries, and it's going to do nothing but get you down if you're not quite in that place. Now, obviously you want to be happy for your friends and your colleagues, they're doing well, but if you're not in that place, then it's going to really affect you mentally. Now, what you need to do is take a step back and think about what you're really seeing in your feed. You're seeing just good moments. All these producers are talking about these amazing things that are happening, but these are just snapshots of their life. A lot of their life is then filled up with mediocre stuff and probably some bad stuff thrown in there as well. So these are just snapshots of really good things that are happening within their life. So don't feel as much pressure to kind of be on the same level as they are. At some point it will happen for you, and you will be able to talk about it on socials and be like that. But also just realize that social networks are just showing good stuff. They are only the things that people want to share, and that is generally just good stuff. So have that in mind when you're looking at your social networks. Don't let it get you down. Don't let it put you off your goal of making your music the best you can be. Okay, so on to tip number 7, and it's take no for an answer. Now, I don't want you to just think I'm taking these cliches, flipping them on their head for no reason whatsoever. I really do believe this, and I think it's going to make you a better producer. Now, if you are a music producer, you've probably got a whole load of record labels in your head that you want to send tracks out to. Now, say you send them out a track and they say no to it. Now, maybe that's actually a good thing. Maybe that's actually an opportunity to then make a better track. What you could do is, when they say no, is you can put it out on a smaller label, but you can actually learn a whole lot more by then scrapping that track completely and then starting afresh with a new one. That old track wasn't good enough to go on the record label that you really want to get it on, so maybe your music isn't good enough. Now, that might sound like a harsh thing. It's really hard to be self-critical and to really analyse your tracks, see whether they're good enough. You've just finished that track, it's brand new, it's the best thing you've ever done, so why wouldn't they want that track? well, maybe step back a bit from it and then have a look at it, see whether it is a good track, see if it is worth sending to them. Maybe it's not, maybe you need to be better. So take that no as an opportunity to get better at your craft, to make a better track. You can then send them the next track, and maybe that gets signed, maybe that doesn't. Maybe it's not the next one, maybe it's the one after that, or the one after that, or the one after that. Each one that you send them, you're going to get better with, and hopefully, even through just sending them, you'll have a better relationship with that record label. So it might actually work out well in the end anyway. So try taking that no for an answer. It might be quite harsh in the short run, but it might make you a better producer. So maybe you should take no as an answer, but if you're asked to do anything, say yes, even if it scares you. And this has happened to me several times throughout my career. Whether it's been a big gig that I've been scared to do, or a remix that I just didn't think I could handle, I've pushed through and done it anyway. This happened most recently when Pioneer reached out to me and asked me to do a performance on the DJS 1000. Now, I've been using Pioneer gear for many years. I know the CDJs, the mixer inside out. And I've used samplers in the studio before, but combining the two and doing a live performance filmed by Pioneer and going out on their website and their YouTube channel, that was quite daunting. That scared me quite a bit, but I pushed through and did it anyway. I knew that it was going to be great for my career, and all it really required was that I planned it out really well and practiced a lot. And I mean, I practiced a lot. But it's one of those things, I just said yes and went with it anyway because I knew it was going to be a good thing for me. Sometimes you just have to make that leap and then just put in the effort to make it work. So I'm not going to say that when a chance comes along and you say no that you won't get that opportunity again, but the odds are a lot slimmer. So you might as well say yes and then worry about it later. What's the worst that could happen? Okay, on to tip number 9. Branding is everything, and it really is these days. I've noticed such a change in the last 10 years. When I first started Dirty Secretz, I had a logo and some press photos, but that was about it. Of course, there weren't the social networks around then as there are now, but now we've got to have branding everywhere, and it's all got to be consistent as well. You've got your Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, SoundCloud. All these different social networks have to have the same kind of theme. You've got to be putting across your branding. Whether you like it or not, DJ, producer, you are a brand. So you've got to get that branding on point. Now, this is something that I've learned over the years myself, learning Photoshop, After Effects, Premiere. If you've not heard of any of these software, maybe you should go and have a look. It's all about creating your own imagery, your logos, your videos. And if you don't have the skills to do it, there are plenty out there that can help you do it. You might have friends that can do photography, so they could do your press photos. You might have designer friends who could do you logos and artwork. You might have some friends that are good with video who could film you at gigs or produce promo videos for you. Reach out to those friends because it's really important to have branding these days, much more than ever before. Okay, so I'll give you an example. Over the 10 years of me being Dirty Secretz, only one person has taken my press photos, and that's Grace Elkin. Now, I met her through friends over 10 years ago, and we've become really good friends ourselves. She knows exactly what I'm after when I go for press shots, and because she's my friend, she can tell me when I'm posing really badly, which is most of the time. And actually, I'll say that here, another tip, sub-tip of this, press photos never get any easier. So if you can't do your own branding, reach out to friends, colleagues, social media, find somebody who can help you because branding is more important than it ever has been. So my 10th and final tip is just have fun. That's what it's all about. Just have fun making music. If you're in the studio and it's feeling like work, it's feeling like something you don't want to do, then you're just doing it wrong. You need to just have fun doing it. If I go back and I think about when I first started playing around with music software and loading samples in and cutting them up, I was just having fun. I wasn't trying to get a record deal. I wasn't trying to impress some top DJs that I don't know. I wasn't trying to get likes on Facebook or plays on SoundCloud. I was just playing around with it. And that ultimately is the most important thing about music. You need to have fun making music and enjoy what you're doing. It's crazy to think I've been doing the Dirty Secretz thing for 10 years now. I've signed records to some amazing record labels. I've played some awesome gigs all around the world, and my work with Pioneer has just been out of this world. There's been some amazing things I've done, and I've had fun doing it the whole time. So I had to finish it off on that note. It is all about having fun. It's all about enjoying what you do. Speaking of which, I'm playing Ministry of Sound later, so I better get going. I'll see you later.